Hi, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Ryan. Today and this week, we are going to be reviewing what we already know about multiplication and division, and so that we can use it later in the week to use what we know and remember about multiplication to solve some word problems. I know that's your favorite, but that's coming up. So let's talk about and review what we know. So first, let's look at some vocabulary, some of the things we know for the words that we use when we're talking about multiplication and division. The word factor. Factor is used for multiplication. Remember, factor times factor equals product. Factor is one of your facts in a multiplication number sentence. Divisor, we use that for division. Look, it even looks kind of like the word divide. Product, the product is the answer to a multiplication problem or equation or number sentence. Dividend, the dividend is the total amount we are separating into equal groups when we are using division. Quotient is another important word for division, and quotient is the answer to a division problem. We also look at something called related facts, and you guys know that this is also something maybe you've heard called fact families. And I put this word in here, inverse. We're going to talk about that because the word inverse shows that multiplication and division are related to each other. They are basically the opposites of each other. So inverse is a math brainy word to use instead of the word opposite, but that's what it means. So we're going to use the word inverse so we can use our math vocabulary. So let's look at multiplication. Remember, boys and girls, multiplication is where we have equal groups of items that we are putting together. So sometimes we can add things up repeatedly, like 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. Which would be the same as 7 times 6 equals 42. So 6 and 7 are our factors, and 42 is the product or the answer to the multiplication problem. So looking at division, remember division is when we start out with a total that we want to separate into equal groups. And so the dividend would be the total amount that you are separating or splitting or dividing into equal groups. And the divisor then is either the number of items in each group, or it could be the number of groups. So they could be switched out. And then the answer to a division problem is called the quotient. So for our example, we're going to use those same three numbers, 42, 7, and 6. So we have 42 total items. We're going to divide them into 7 groups, and so there would be 6 in each group. So in this conversation about how multiplication and division are the inverse or the opposite of each other, then we can also make a connection to their families or their related facts. And remember, there are 4 number sentences in a fact family for multiplication and division. So we're going to go ahead and use what we have here. We have 6 times 7 equals 42. Ms. Ryan's trying to use this pen and it's not working very well. It's very slow. Okay, let's see if I can get this. Maybe I can find a better way to do this while we're going on. Okay, so 6 times 7 is 42. Let me see if I use this instead. And we can just change the arrangement of the factors. 7 times 6, equals 42. So that worked a little better using my pen. And the division sentences are 42 divided by, remember, divided by 6 would equal 7, and 42 divided by 7 equals 6. So remember, that is a review of our related facts, and it gives us an example of how multiplication and division are related to each other. Okay, boys and girls, so let's look at the next thing we're going to talk about, our multiplication table. You guys should all be very familiar with using a multiplication chart or a multiplication table. So let's just remember what this chart shows us. And Miss Ryan's going to use her red pen. So remember, these numbers that are in the blue that you see at the top of your chart, those are the number of groups or the number items you have in each group. So those are just the numbers to help us know what our factors are. And that little X up there, that just means we're using this for multiplication. So let's just do a really quick example. I'm going to say, let's see, if we have 4 groups and there are 6 items in each group. So I could look at my 4 right here let's see, my 4 right here. And I can count 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 times 6 equals, oops, there's my 6, 24. Okay, so that's a reminder of how we use our multiplication chart to find our facts. We could do it the other way, couldn't we? We could look at the top of our chart over here and we could find 6 and we could say, 6 4 times, and I could just go straight down. 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and it is also going to be 24. So can we use this multiplication chart to show division? Absolutely, boys and girls. Remember that all of these numbers, oh, Miss Ryan, all of these numbers in your chart that you see, all of those are the products or the answers. They're the totals. That is what you start with. And so we could start and we could say, let's see. I have 49 total items I want to separate. And I want to separate those 49 items into 7 groups. So how many would be in each group? So I could just either go back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, 7. So 49 divided by 7 is 7. 7 groups of 7. 7 times 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is. There's our answer. So let's do one more that would be division. So what if I had 28? So let me just write that. 28 divided by 4. 28 divided by 4. So here is my total, my quotient, my dividend. 28 is my dividend. So 28 divided by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 7. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Or 28 divided by 7, count back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the 7, would be 4. Okay, so that is our review of our multiplication chart. So remember, if you don't know your facts, you can always use a multiplication chart. But I'm going to show you another way, because sometimes we just don't have that multiplication chart ready and available for us. So I have a trick I'm going to teach you, and some of you already know it. Hang on, next slide. Okay, boys and girls, here we are. So I'm going to show you a trick, something you can use if you're trying to solve an equation, especially if you have a missing part of your equation or your number sentence. An equation, fancy math word for number sentence. And so we could do something, we could create something that we call a T-chart. And all the T-chart is just one little section off of the multiplication chart that can help us. And you can create it yourself, because you can say, oh, I don't really know. What am I going to do? So let's look at this first example. We have blank times 5 equals 40. So some number of groups times 5 in that 5 each in those groups gives me a total of 40. So I could just draw a little chart, and this is my multiplication. This is where my X goes. So that's just like your multiplication chart, isn't it? And we're going to look at the column for 5 because we know that factor. So now we just are going to figure out if I have one group, or 1 times 5, that is 5. And so you know with your T-chart, you can just skip count all the way down. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15. 5, 10, 15. 4 times 5 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25. Not a very good 2. 6 times 5 is 30. 7 times 5 is 35. 8 times 5 is 40. Wow, I found my answer, didn't I? Here it is. 8 times 5 equals 40. So my missing factor in my equation is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. So even if I don't have my multiplication chart, I can do my repeated addition, my skip counting, and I can create my own chart until I get to the values that I have in my equation. So let's look to see, well, how could I do that, Ms. Ryan, using a division problem? What would I do with that? So let's look at this problem. It says 24, so I have a total of 24 divided by something gives me 8. So again, can I use multiplication? Yes, because multiplication is the opposite of division. So this time I've got 8. I know a factor of 8 because I know if I think about it backwards, 8 times something equals 24, right? So I could think of it like that. 8 times something equals 24. So I know my related facts or my fact families. So I'm going to do my chart times 8. So 1 times 8 is 8. This one might be a little bit harder because it might be a little hard to skip count by 8. But you can always count however you want, 8 more. So 8 plus 8 is 16. So 2 groups, or 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 8, so 16, let's see, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24. So if you needed to do that, you can do that, can't you, boys and girls? 4 times 8 is 32, or 24. Oops, that's 2. There we go. 24 plus 8 is 32. 5 times 8 is 40. Well, wait a minute. Have I already found what I was looking for? I have. Look back here. 3 groups of 4 is 24. So the missing divisor in my number sentence for division is 3. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. And I have my proof right there on my T-chart. So hopefully you already know how to create your own T-charts and you've been taught that and you practiced that. So you don't have to always have that multiplication chart. You already know how to do it. So on the problems that you're going to be solving later, you may need to use that strategy, making your own T-chart. Okay, boys and girls, our next example I want to show you is equations or equal equations when you're trying to figure out if 2 facts or number sentences are equal to each other. So you notice you've got, on this one, you've got your equal sign right in the middle there. So they want to know, they're asking the question, is 8 times 3 equal to 6 times 4? So what they're saying is, for solving this, the product of 8 times 3, well, 8 times 3, and I remember this from the last slide, is 24. Is that the same or equal to 6 times 4? Is 6 times 4, does it also give me 24? So look, I can use my T-chart, can't I? I could do one really quick. Times 4, so we're going to multiply by 6. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. 4 times 6 is 24. 18 plus 6, because I'm skip counting, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yes, guess what? That is an equal equation. So that is true. So see, you can use that T-chart to solve some things and find equal equations to see if those are true or not. You're going to need that when you're doing your practice soon. Okay, boys and girls, this is our last little slide. I wanted to just show you what your assignment is going to look like, some of the questions. You are going to be answering some task card questions. They are multiple choice, so you're going to need to read each question, and you're going to need to look at every answer choice. So there's going to be a mixture of multiplication and division type questions. So you also need to probably think about what we've talked about for multiplication and division and related facts, and using your multiplication chart or creating your T-chart. So for example, the first one, number 13, says, which one of the following multiplication sentences is correct? So you need to look at answer choice A, 3 times 4 equals 12. Well, 3 times 4 equals 12. I know that if I count 3 4 times, I'm going to get 12, and I could prove that by doing my multiplication chart. That is a true answer. But I've got to, so I think right now my answer is A, but I need to double check. 4 times 2, 4 plus 4, 2 4s is 8. That's not correct. 5 times 3, 5, 10, 15. That's 15, not 18. Or D, 6 times 2. Well, 6 twice or 6 2 times is 12, because I know my doubles facts. So my correct answer is A. So what I want you to do is I want you to remember, and if you need to, look back at this video and review your multiplication chart, creating a T-chart to help you answer these number sentences and these problems. And I know you're going to do a great job. If you have to go back and look, go back and watch this video again if you need to. All right, boys and girls, have a great day. Bye.